we were always the black sheep of our family,
Mm.
doing our own thing. And KYP podcast, Kill Your Pride, is it was birthed from trying to be free and be authentic and be ourselves.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life. Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
Like, she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Talented entrepreneur, podcaster, James Lee. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
How are you, Daniel? I'm very good. I'm glad to be on the pod today. I just got off of work, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're looking fresh. So I could tell you're definitely coming from work, or is that just your sense of style? Like, if I catch you on a Sunday afternoon, you'll be dressed like this?
I'm pretty casual today, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I usually wear like a sports blazer and a shirt.
Interesting.
Nobody's in the office, so I just decided to go cash.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, you know what's so funny? Looking like folk more intently on your background, I can see the Habs logo, the Canadian Montreal Canadiens logo on that building. What is that? Their head office?
That's
Corporate office?
no, man. They bought the land and they built condos.
Oh, like the actual like the franchise.
Yeah, they bought the land and then they built the condo right next to the Bell Center.
Wow, that's a flex.
I don't know if I could probably show you.
Yeah, for those watching the video. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's the Bell Center there. And then it's connected to the Bell Center.
Wow, what's such strategic real estate right there. But that's a flex. You know what I mean? Let's just buy real estate and slap on our logo. You know what I mean? That's the dream.
Yeah. But it's the dream. Yeah, if you could afford it.
Exactly. Soon you'll see the 94 logo and the KYP logo, I should say. Which
that'd be cool. Cool.
People don't know what I'm mentioning, but we'll get right into it. So, James, it's a pleasure to have you as a guest on the podcast after connecting with our mutual friend Kevin G, who happens to be a co-host on your very own podcast called Kill Your Pride. So that's the acronym KYP. I had such an enjoyable experience conversing with Kevin about his own creative endeavors, to which your colleague commended the relentless commitment you've all cultivated toward this newly established entertainment platform.
Hey man, I just wanted to start off, you're such a natural, by the way. This is the first time I'm talking to you. I just wanted to say that you're such a natural. You just got right into it. I just wanted to compliment that.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I met Kev. Actually, he's my childhood friend. We met when we were kids, back in elementary school. So throughout high school, we'd be playing basketball near our houses, and that's how we connected as friends.
Right.
And we would just hang out, and we still hang out with all our childhood friends in the neighborhood. But yeah, I mean, Kev approached me, I would say like 2 years ago, with just it was just an honest conversation with a buddy. Like, we were in the car, I was dropping him home, and he was just telling me he was going through a tough time. It was just right peak COVID. It was the time when Quebec had a lockdown, so we had a curfew until like 8 p.m. So it was like peak COVID, winter time. It was like one of the darkest times, I would say, part of everyone's lives. And he was just talking to me, and he was just real honest with me, and we talked a little bit about the creative stuff that I was doing, and he opened up to me saying he wanted to do something creative for once, because he was doing law school. He just finished business school. He was pursuing this dream, as you probably already know, that for his parents. And
yeah, I remember that conversation.
Yeah, so he just got real with me. He's like, he told me I told my parents that I quit law school. I was like, oh shit, because throughout my, I've known him my whole life, and he's always been that guy that's like going to school, study, at the library. I never considered him as a friend that's creative per se, So when he told me he wanted to do something, I was like, oh yeah, sure. And the reason why he approached me is because I had this brand called Kill Your Pride. It was a clothing brand. I started in 2019.
Right.
So I think that's really where the idea of KYP podcast, Kill Your Pride podcast, was created. It was a second project of mine that I co-created with Kevin and obviously Danny later on. But it was a brand that I just started, and I've always loved fashion, as you can tell. It was just something that I always wanted to pursue. I went to fashion school for a little bit. And, I've been doing the Instagram game for a long time, and it's just something I wanted to do as my own thing. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how Kevin and I connected through the brand. And I don't know how the podcast idea came through. I think it was more like, we've been listening to a lot of podcasts. Like, it'd be cool to talk and just like, talk about random shit and just be ourselves on camera.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love the idea of, people searching out their creative interests. That's something I advocate, as you can probably tell from this podcast.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole reason why I've actually pursued this venture. It's to get my voice out there and connect with people like yourself or
Yes.
Kevin to discuss,
Yes.
their ambitions. We were talking, back in Toronto, Kevin and I, about, his kind of like story, and I can relate to that. I was no lawyer or studious individual. I did go to university, but I wasn't to the level of him.
Yeah,
right?
same.
But what I'm
Same,
saying,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is I can highly relate to having that pressure of immigrant parents, especially older relatives or siblings, role models in your family that are kind of like constantly pressuring you to enact or become something you're not.
Are you Italian? Sorry.
I'm Italian, yeah. I'm
Where
full
are you from?
Italian.
Italian. Yeah.
My mom's from Terracina, which is near Rome. My dad's from Termini,
Oh,
which
wow.
is near Palermo in Sicily. Yeah, so they're immigrants too. Like they're not like
Straight
off
up,
the-
yeah.
they're like fresh off the boat kind of
Yeah.
thing. But they're like they came here. My dad was 6, my mom was 2. So what
Oh,
I'm saying
wow.
is, as much as like if you were to talk to them, and be like, oh, they're modern Canadian parents. They have that immigrant mentality. So you could imagine how I was raised, right? Kevin even right away said, like, I could tell you were raised well, because I have those like strong values, so much so that I never
Yeah.
veered off the path, even if I wanted to sometimes, right? So you can imagine the way I grew up, right? It was some sort of hybrid where I would come across those that were like me, and I would come across those that same background, but got to do amazing, crazy, sometimes degenerative stuff. You know what I mean? Like it really depended on the
I know what you
individual.
mean.
Yeah. So I'm just saying is like, yeah, and throughout our conversation, I kind of like supported him. He already made the decision. Obviously, he didn't need my word, but at the end of the day, I kind of empathize with people like that. Like, we don't know where we're going to be headed with this path. At the end of the day, like I can
Yeah.
encourage you as much as you can encourage me, but I don't know how much you can do, let alone me. You know what I mean? What I mean is to say is only I know for myself how far I can go with my dream, because I know how much I'm working
Yeah.
towards it. Do you know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
think it's important to establish a network in which we're constantly like providing that support system. Because for me, I don't know about you, man. Like, I don't know how deep you are in the creative industry, but it gets to you, man. Like, your mental health needs to be in order. People say like, don't worry about it when you make it. But if you don't have it in order, it can really affect your creativity and your output.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I was pretty fortunate to create this sort of balance between work, creative work, and family life. It, it's like, I believe you have just 3 things that you can actually take. So it's family, a social life, and work, and you can only
Right.
take 2.
Of course, yeah.
And if you try to juggle all 3, you're just going to be burnt out. You're going to be using 33% of your energy in everything, and you're just never going to be fully like efficient in what you do. So you always have to pick 2. And for the most part, I prioritize work and family.
That's
And
nice. Yeah.
so, I neglected the social life a little bit. So, I stopped seeing a lot of the friends. I haven't seen Kevin like for years. Even like before we started this podcast.
Purposely, or you just had a different
not purposely,
direction?
just yeah. So he was. So it kind of relates to what we're talking about. It's like
Of course.
he chose that path of becoming a lawyer. Going to business school. So we would see each other maybe at the bar, or just hang out for a few hours. But we never had that kind of deep level that we have now.
Right.
Because we were pursuing different paths, and I started YouTube when I was very young, like at the end of high school. And he would be seeing me. He's like, "Oh, what is this? Want to be Kev Jumba? Ryan Higa? Trying because I was inspired by a lot of these YouTubers. Timothy De La Ghetto. I wanted to become like those guys. Like I never saw myself going to school. Getting my master's degree, my PhD, or business school. I always saw myself doing something fun, something cool. That's how I saw myself as a young kid. And Kev was totally on that different path, focus on school, become a lawyer. So that's how we, disconnected for a long time. And so yeah, back to the work and family thing. It's like I got a girlfriend when I was like a serious relationship when I was very young, like when I was like 22. We started living together. We started having all these responsibilities. So I had a lot of my time was focused on my family. I had a dog as well, so it takes a lot of my time just to take care of that portion of my life, and then work. I have to make money, right? So
Of course, yeah.
luckily,
I'm in the same situation.
luckily, yeah, like money is number one, like for as a struggling like young person, trying to make it. So luckily, I because of my Instagram, because of my love for fashion, I had a job working as a stylist, sales associate, social media. I had an opportunity to work in something that I already loved, which is fashion. So I spent most of my time working and then managing my family life. And so social wise, I had barely any time. So these two things, they took over my creative process. It took a toll on my creative process.
Right.
Yeah, because as you were saying, surrounding yourself with people, meeting people in the creative industry, it does help. It could burn you out, but it could help level you up. Because I feel like the environment that you're in really helps you develop as a creative. So if you're hanging out with like artists, filmmakers, and different kinds of people, you're just gonna like automatically just learn from them and become a bit better creative, right? So I neglected that creative side for a long time, and just focused on work and family. And then 2019 came. I was like, fuck it, I want to express myself again. I felt like there was like a black hole in my heart.
Right.
And I started Kill Your Pride, the clothing brand.
Yeah, that's so. I got the impression, it was a clothing brand, and I believe Kevin, touched on that, which is cool because I can highly relate to my own clothing brand, being extension of 94 Productions. Yeah, and I think funny enough, I was coming back from a shoot. I call them dance music videos to promote the product. When I was meeting Kevin. So yeah, man, I love your creative ambition, and this is why I wanted to have a conversation with you, right? Because you're one of three of the mastermind behind KYP. What I mean? And I didn't know you were like the father of the whole establishment. You know what I mean? Like you kind of the founding father, if you will. Like obviously you guys all have a influential contribution, but
now it's a whole thing. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But you were the one that kind of conceived the name, right? That you still use today. So going back into the podcast, I'm truly astonished by the amount of development you and your team integrated into the podcast, from its brand positioning as a boys hangout show. I love that. I incorporate that concept into my scripts, and I try to have that same energy throughout this conversation as well, right? But
for sure, man.
But I also enjoy. I watch them quite frequently now. I'll be honest with you, the humorous kind of social commentary segment centered around pop culture, right? Like quite recently, you guys were talking about men's fashion and how that started into suits, and just hearing Kevin, break down, just like from a simplistic mindset, like, so the guy showed up like a douchebag and everyone followed, right? Like, it's just, you don't expect it, right?
So funny.
Because the guy's like clearly, is it David, the other individual that co-hosts?
Danny.
Okay, yeah. He's a dapper looking fellow, right? And the way he was like kind of broaching the subject, you're like, oh shit, like this guy knows, right? You see his Instagram or whatever, and then I hear Kevin interject. So you're saying the guy showed up like a douchebag, and I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. It's like brings me back to like when I used to hang out with my friends, right? And you guys made it into an entertainment platform, right? So I just want to commend you on that. So yeah, obviously you told me the backstory, the origins behind KYP. You know, it started as a clothing brand. Now, transformed it into a podcast. And you know, Kevin was seeking out some sort of creative endeavor, as you were. So you guys both
Yeah.
figure that out. How did the cultural influences, either from the media or from within your own community, serve to its inception or its current operation?
So as the podcast,
Yeah, like what do you, is it pop culture that motivates you guys, or is it like just day-to-day observations that you see in life? Like what is it that influences this podcast?
I think it's really about I think this theme is it's gonna revolve a lot in this podcast, but it's about like authenticity, just being real, and you know, just talking about whatever, because you know, like every episode we film, like it's not like there's a huge plan or there's a script. You know, we're just like you know, we're smoking outside and we're just talking, hey, what should we talk about today? We're just like, we'll start with one topic and then we'll just fucking go from there. And that's how it starts. It's just not thinking too much and just being yourself, being real on the podcast. And you know, we're three friends, and you know, we come from the same background, you know, Asian community, Asian parents, immigrant parents, as you were talking about. We all like face similar struggles, and it does help that we're all like younger brothers in our own family, so we sort of get each other, we get along because we sort of relate. You know, we're always the spoiled kid that you know would, and then we had an older sibling that would take all the crap, and we'd be the ones that you know get away with stuff. And it's just that kind of dynamic that we had in our families really reflects on the podcast, and that's why we're so liberal, we're so free, like you know, like we just flow together because we never had those kind of restrictions and strictness from our parents. You know, we were always the black sheep of our family, doing our own thing. And KYP podcast, Kill Your Pride, is it was birthed from you know trying to be free and be authentic and be ourselves.
Yeah, and that's what it is, right? I always talk about authenticity on this podcast. People kind of feel it, they
Yes.
see it. If you're not giving a raw take on something, people will tune out, you know? And I hate for the life of me, like those kinds of pieces of content that, you know, it's contrived or they're trying to sell you something. You can just see through it, you know?
That's it. Yeah.
And even if they're not even, and that's the thing, like
Yeah.
even if they're not trying to sell you something, you just feel if they're not genuine, you know? So like a big superpower, like people tell me, is that like you complimented me in the beginning, where it's like very, I'm a natural, and like you feel
Yeah.
comfortable
Organic, you
already.
know?
Yeah, thank you. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised, right? Like come on this podcast and they're very nervous, very anxious. You could see it in their eyes.
Mhm.
And at the end by the end of the podcast, they'll tell me like, wow, that was actually easier than I thought. And I said, thanks. And they like obviously commend me for making that an
Yes.
enjoyable experience, because I try not to judge anyone, you know, like I'm not perfect either. And I
Yeah.
try to just make it feel like free flowing. I also don't make people feel uncomfortable. Like if I ask you a pressing question and you don't want to answer it, I always tell them like revert it back to me.
Mhm.
I also have a pretty good gauge where it's like I just want to tell, like I know if someone's uncomfortable, so I try to take it off them and say like I'll answer it for you, right?
Oh, that's good. That's good quality.
But it's important. It's important,
Yeah.
right? When you're running a podcast,
Yeah.
and this is what you're trying to say about authenticity. It's essentially becoming self-aware and identifying your audience and
Yes.
who you want to kind of pander to, right? At the end of like the KYP is not, you know, a woke movement, you know, trying to,
Nah,
you know
man.
what I mean? Like, you know, uprise the establishment. It's basically like a boys' show to like shoot the shit and give you a glimpse of how it looks like when you're having drinks with your friends. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's it.
That's why when I watch it, like I said, I actually enjoy it more and more, that I take it in, because I realize it's not like these dapper guys, you know, like talking about business and politics. It's like, you know, just I don't know, like Kevin was talking about again, a fight with his girlfriend or someone important to him, and he's like, should I press that nuclear button? And I was just like dying, because I'm like, we've all been there, you know, we all like know what that's like, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
definitely keep that authentic energy. I think it's so important, man.
For sure. For sure, man.
I want to ask you a pretty daring question, but I'm curious how you answer it. Why do you believe the
Yeah, go ahead.
podcast? Why do you believe the podcast will be successful?
Yes, you know, we talk about this every time we meet up. You know, Kevin comes every 2 months to Montreal, and we shoot, you know, a bunch of podcasts. We talk about this every time. We, you know, become a Spotify original, you know, always make these kind of dreams, you
Right,
know,
right,
like,
of course.
oh, what if we get handed $1 billion, you know, or whatever. And we don't really know how to answer that, but I think I think definitely how to become successful is, and we recognize it very early on, is to be consistent. You know, uh, just keep posting, keep shooting, um, keep trying to be motivated in working at this, because you know right now we might not see major results, you know,
Right.
right now, but you know you keep posting, you keep gathering a following. People will, if you keep posting and you keep um you're just there, you know, and people are gonna see that, and then some, maybe sometime they're gonna tune in for one full episode. They're like, wow, this is actually pretty good, you know. It's just being consistent. That's the first thing, and the second thing, like again, we just talked about, is being authentic. You know, I think there's a lot of negative content out there, or fake content, or some, or you know, like they're trying to sell you something, as you said. Um, I think people need to feel uplifted sometimes, or most of the time. You know, if I feel like a lot of people, when I talk to them, they're looking at social media, they always have this negative aspect of it, like, oh, it makes me feel depressed, or you know, all these people are driving Lambos and making thousands of dollars every month, you know, at home, and while I'm working at the McDonald's for, you know, $15 an hour. It's like social media doesn't make you feel good because everything is so lavish and so you know, fake, I would say. So KYP is straight up like three regular dudes, um, just talking about, you know, things that happen in our lives, and that could be a lesson for somebody that's going through a tough time, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure,
And
man.
yeah,
No, I love its noble cause, right? Because that's something, again, I preach all the time on this podcast, is as much as we're talking about
yes,
our stories and our come up and whatever have you. Um, I do, you know, try to interject here and there, the importance of mental health, because people need to understand that there's human beings behind these
mm,
stories. Something, you know, for me, whenever I'm looking to my hero, for example, Quentin Tarantino or any other filmmaker in the industry,
yes,
uh,
love him.
yeah, I would always, I'll be
Yeah,
honest, man, I would always like look into like the human being aspect. Like a lot of people would be more fascinated in
yeah,
the career, but for me, it's a well-rounded kind of observation. Like, you know, what did it take to really make it? And he's human, man. Like he would say it, like, you know, I didn't know if the first Reservoir Dogs was going to be a hit. I actually wanted to make it on my own for 30 grand, not a million. But through turn of right, but so
yeah,
it's through some turn of
yeah.
events, like it was possible. But he always said, like, I never entertained the thought of working at a video store the rest of my life. And it was
Mm,
always the you know, transition in his life, you know, that potential that kind of drove him to become who he is today. And I don't know
mm.
about you, like, are you 28? Are you the same age as me, roughly?
Yeah, 95. Yeah,
Oh,
28.
95. Okay, so yeah, I'm 94.
Yeah,
I'm 94, so I'm a year older than
yeah.
you technically. I just have a
I'm almost
birthday.
28. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I just have a year.
yeah.
Yeah. So we're the same
I
age,
lost
but
track.
yeah. So the way I look at the reason why I bring up the age is because Tarantino, again, being my hero, his 20s
Yeah.
was a shit show. You know, he said nothing went right. No one really gave him the respect or the recognition he thought he
Mm,
deserved.
mm,
And
mm.
then around 30, that's when Reservoir Dogs came out, and he said that's when his
Mm.
life changed forever. So obviously everyone has a different trajectory in the
Crazy.
path. But I
Yeah.
look at that and I say, maybe, like, you know, even for yourself, what we're going through
Mm.
is the stepping stones to achieve greatness, right? Like, you go through the grind now, it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be simple. You're not going to get the gratification maybe that you think you deserve,
Exactly.
but you're
Yeah.
putting in the steps that you'll reap them when you're like in your 30s. Like I often say, Drake, you know, like the guy's
For
36,
sure,
maybe
man.
pushing 40, right? But everyone reveres him. If he was an average Joe, people would say like, yo, this guy's old, but it's no, this guy's in his prime. So I look at that and I say, like, when he was 28, he was nowhere near, like, maybe he was like starting his career kind of thing, like he was just
Hmm,
breaking in.
hmm.
But I have to like kind of tell myself that as you do, we're very young in the industry. As much as,
Yeah.
like you were saying about social media comparison, we could easily go up
Mm,
right now and say, yo, all these guys have an amazing not an amazing podcast really, but they're just
mm.
doing really well, or they're making a lot of money. Um, but it's like, to each his own, you know, do you want their podcast, or do you want your own podcast to thrive? Right. So you have to kind of understand that we have different pathways, and to honor that.
Yeah, and you also have to like just focus on your craft and focus on you. The minute you focus on other people and you obsess about it, the minute like you're gonna just walk out of the door, because you can't possibly compare to yourself like someone like Drake. And if I wanted to become a rapper and I saw Drake, I was like, how the hell am I gonna get there? You know, it's so far up from my reach. But as you said, you gotta build like that stepping stone. Do it every day and just look down and just keep working on it. And you can't reap it today. Like there's no way. It's like man, we talked about this on another podcast you're probably gonna see in the future, but like it's if you're trying to climb 100 stairs, let's say,
Right.
you know, and you're looking high up and you see the stairs, like do you what would so what does a person do? Do they jump 100 stairs? Do they jump 50 stairs, or do they just take one step?
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting. Yeah, interesting way
yeah,
to
you
look at
take
it.
the
Yeah.
step, you take the one step, right?
Right.
You can't possibly jump 50 stairs and skip all of these steps. You have
Can't
to
get to
take
the
that
top of the
first
CN
step.
Yeah. Can't get to the
Yeah,
top of the CN
you
Tower
know,
by taking like the first 10,000 steps, right? Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, so that's really is it's like putting in the work and being consistent, and you know, and also loving it. I think yeah, you need to love. Like I think people always say is you need to love what you do, and I think it's so true. That's what gives you motivation to be consistent, right?
What I'm starting to quickly understand too is like what you were saying, love what you do is understand that it's not always going to be the same. You know, like every day is not
Oh yeah,
always going to be consistent. I think too
it's tough.
much, definitely the stupid hustle porn, as I call it. You know, if you're not waking up and taking cold showers and hitting the gym, like you're a fucking loser, right? But the reality is like it's the intention, right? Like I've been to the gym,
Yes,
like I try to keep consistent. I'll be honest with you, 5-6 times a week. But there are days when I don't put
crazy.
in
Yeah,
as much energy, or there are days when I might
yeah.
skip a day, right? Do I
Hmm.
should I shame myself? Obviously, the discipline mindset I have, I do. I'll be honest with you, but I shouldn't. Like when I
Yeah,
look
for sure.
back, it's like no, like we're human at the end of the day.
Yeah,
What I'm trying to get at is like today, right? I was actually reflecting before our call. I'm like, I was supposed to be writing a script because I'm trying to get this feature film funded. I should have been
yeah.
maybe editing a certain video for this client. Whatever. And it's like, but I had a busy day. I had to do some errands. I had some personal matters I had to attend to. I have this
Yeah,
podcast, right? I had like an interview. Like, so there's other things at play, and I shouldn't
so
beat
many.
myself
Yeah.
up. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
Mm.
we have to understand that sometimes life gets in the way, and we have to manage and prioritize, and we have to know that we'll get back to those
Hmm.
tasks. The people now that like people, I'm sure you and I both know people that procrastinate severely. Like I'm talking like weeks and months from doing something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's another conversation, right? But if you're missing a day or two, or even if you do go off a week or two, you know what I mean? It's okay. The what matters is that you're constantly approaching it. You're constantly like trying your best to attempt doing some work,
Hmm.
because that's the hardest
Hmm.
part, man, is showing up. I always tell my friends that. I always tell people, because they always say like, yo, how do you do it? How do you keep focus? It's like, I'll be honest with you, man, 90% of the battle is just showing up. Like when I want to write my script, I don't know
Yeah.
if you're a writer, but like imagine sitting in front of your computer and like staring at a white page. Like who wants to do that? No one. It's daunting. But just sitting down and having the mindset like, yo, I'm gonna write something today, at least 3 pages.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself, at least 3 pages. Something comes out, man. It's not always good, but something comes up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It compounds. It compounds
It
definitely if
compounds,
you do
man.
that
Yeah.
every day, right?
So I wanted to
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I wanted to
the
relate it back to your one step theory, man. So that's awesome. So yeah, going back to like the podcast, you know, since founding my production company, 94 Productions, I've utilized social media as a landscape to expand my personal and professional
yes.
reach right within the industry for filmmaking, podcasting, streetwear branding. And I noticed, done the same, right? You and the team at Kill Your Pride,
Yeah.
they have the same
Hmm.
mindset of promoting the platform consistently on social media in a comedic and yet engaging way, which is what we already discussed. I have to
Yes.
mention, like, congratulations on becoming viral on one of your clips. Kevin actually shared that
Oh
with
yeah.
me. Oh, so
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. At the time, it was I think
The
six or
fashion
seven
one.
thousand, but now it's probably even more. I would say, I presume, right?
Yeah, like I think the last time I saw was 176 or
Yeah,
something.
there you go, man. See, and that's what it
Yeah,
is. You just got to keep putting it out. You never know, you get that one hit,
that's
right?
it.
Um,
That's it.
So, what do you believe works most effectively engaging the audience's attention, or what have you seen so far using KYP content?
I mean, the first thing that comes up to mind, it's not an order, but it's first, it has to be visual, like visually appealing. Definitely luckily we have Danny on our team that's, a visual sensei slash master. He's just like the best person you could really like ask for visuals. Um, you need to have, you need to make it attractive um, on every video. You need to have some images, or I don't know, a beautiful person, or it could be whatever. It just has to be visually appealing, so aesthetically wise. The
Yeah,
next thing on our strategy for KYP is we try to make it as much like meme as possible. Uh, we're just we're just guys fucking around basically. Like we're like, I don't know if you saw the recent video with Kev. He's talking about his getting caught masturbating
yeah,
video.
that was hilarious.
Um,
That's definitely meme worthy. Like it's just like
yeah,
you visualize the story the way it's done, right? With the laptop slamming down, and
yeah,
I'm
like
serious, man. I was dying, man. And these are conversations, speaking of authenticity, like we've talked about as friends, right? Like, what did you do last
yeah.
night? What? And he
Yeah,
says
it's
it
things
so
that you don't
deadpan.
talk
I love
about
it.
in real life.
Yeah.
and I put because I edited that video and I put an image of someone holding a fish, like a dead fish,
Yeah.
and it's just it's just playing with those, it's just playing like with those little things in the moment. I didn't like think about, oh, like what am I gonna put as an image for this scene. I just like I looked it up, and I saw fish, someone holding a fish in hands, like, oh, that could be like a metaphor for just like masturbating, right?
Oh, that's
Um,
hilarious. Yeah.
eh, yeah, so it's I think our approach is very comedic at sometimes, but it's not only comedic. It's sometimes it's very serious. When Kev talks about his struggles, battling with his parents and his own passions and his own visions. Those are very serious episodes. With culture and Chinese culture. Those are things that he battled, or we battled as a kid. It was very emotional, and my approach is really just like very spiritual. I was a very spiritual kid.
Right.
Still am. I'm very in touch with my emotions, and very self-aware since I was a young kid. So just an emotional kid. So when I talk, it's always with a bit of passion. And Danny is just a guy that's like informative. So that viral one was just like straight up informative about how to wear a suit. So we have all these different kinds of qualities mashed together, and we don't post like social media every day. We don't have like 20 posts planned, but like um when it's something that like touches the heart, and we watch our own episodes trying to get some clips out of it, and things that just touches our heart, or this could be really informative, this could be really funny, or this could be really like heartwarming. We try to approach onto those three kind of themes.
Absolutely, man. And you have the right mentality, right? The right attitude towards making
Yeah,
content, because again, it's a hustle, it's a grind, and it's not
yeah, it
always
is.
easy, right?
Freaking tough.
Yeah, it's freaking tough. But
Yeah.
you know what? Through it all, you guys get like some crazy content out of it, and it's
Yes, yes.
engaging and entertaining and such. Um, I want to know, like, going forward, what new methods do you think, or do you intend to do with KYP to develop more effectively, either making viral content or making it more publicized?
Oh man, we're right now we're still trying to figure that out, honestly. I think we're trying to get that consistency portion, right on. So we post the episodes consistently every week. Our strategy for like social media, like going forward, is really to be consistent. Because right now we do it based on how much time we have like left, or how much energy we
Right.
have at the end of the day. Because we're working, everyone's working a full-time job right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Not everyone has the energy, so we don't push too much right now to put out the content. We're just trying our best right now, but I think the next step would be to really bank out episodes and bank out the clips. Spend one day at least creating 20 clips. And being consistent with that. And there's other strategies out there, like using Fiverr or using a third party to edit out the clips. And I think that's a good strategy. If you don't have that much time, could be a solution for us. But right now we're not making any money right now, so everything's out of pocket. So we're trying to do it ourselves. But yeah, I mean that's the direction we're going. Is just we're trying to become more consistent on social media right now.
And that's the biggest dilemma, right? As creatives, that's something I'm kind of experiencing. Everyone tells me like, yo, like maybe you should just do your full filmmaking and go off, right, full time. But it's like, yo, I can only do that for so long, right? I've been working at Steady for 5 years. I've obviously had some incomes here and there, but the whole freelance world, it's there's drawbacks to it. And the reality is like, I don't know about you, right? The economy is getting extremely expensive. Bills are racking up. We're getting older, right? So it's like, I just want to create a little bit of a life for myself. You know what I mean? I don't want to always be chasing the bag in a way, but doesn't mean I need to sacrifice my life in making content, right? I can find companies. There's companies out there. There's clients out there that are looking for, right, in the situation I'm in currently, right? They're looking for talented people that can make content. Is it filmmaking? Is it like cinematic storytelling per se? Not exactly, but you can incorporate those skill sets. And again, I'm really excited. But if you meet the right people, they will work with you. I strongly believe that. So I do beg to ask this question because it's a question I think a lot of people have it cross their mind. I think I even asked Kevin, do you think you'll get to a point seeing it pick up? I'm not saying that it'll be financially secure, but just maybe going off of your gut instinct or the way it's developing. Do you think there'll be a point in the future where you just might quit your job and go full force?
I mean, that's pretty much the goal, man. We talk about that every day.
Oh yeah, like it's no, seriously, like it's gonna be you intend for it to be like an impulsive podcast, like you're just doing this as a full-time thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think all three of us would just love it. I mean, we're so like Kevin and I were so deep into this like corporate route right now where we're just working our asses off for I don't know what, like what am I working for basically for this
Exactly
this big ass company, I don't even know who these people are, and
they're having their questions. Yeah, they're having their reservations about it. I know. I see it in Kevin's eyes, bro, when I talk to him. Like I one time had a call with him just before his podcast.
He was dying,
and he's like, "Hey, man," and I was like, "Oh, yo, you're not the same Kevin I saw a few weeks back." And he's like, "Yeah, it's just
no
Sunday blues, bro." I'm like, shit.
Every time we have a call on Sunday, he has that kind of mood, and I get it. It's like it's a what do you call it? A means to an end.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people call their job.
But it's survival, like I get it. We need to I need to make a living, and this is a really good opportunity.
Especially if you're living on your own, right? Like these guys are living. You guys are living on your own. Like he's living in Toronto, one of the most expensive cities in the world. Never would have thought that.
That's it, man.
But what I'm saying is, like you said, it's means to an end, but it's a sacrifice.
I believe. There you go.
I believe that. The biggest kind of accomplishment, like the goal that a lot of people are set out for, people will say like it's money, it's happiness. I believe it's getting paid for what you love. Like that is I think that if you really think about that, that is a life hack. Like that is something that very few achieve. I'm not saying be a millionaire off of it. I'm just saying think about that.
Tough.
Making, let's say your income's about 70 grand, right? Imagine doing podcasting for a salary of 70 grand. Like you're just getting paid that much in ad revenue.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like you hack the system. Like think about like how easy or those people that Twitch, like that play video games all day and they get paid for it. Like it's just like, for me, that's like the ultimate, obviously doing what fulfills you, of course. But I'm just saying, as I've kind of like fathomed that growing up, it's like, it's not about working for like that dream job or like, of course you have that dream job in the sense. It's more to the idea of doing what you love, period, and getting paid for it. That is like the ultimate. And again, a lot of people aren't afforded that fortune. I understand. Kevin and I were talking about that too. Like, let's be honest, like we still need the people that mine, the fields or like, just go out to the work and get their hands dirty. Right.
Yes.
I just, speaking for myself, I only pursue it because I'm crazy enough to believe it can happen. You know what I mean? Just seeing like what I'm capable of and the feedback I'm getting. being again from yourself, like I always look at indicators of progress where if it's people outside of your social circle, people that are just random, like you never had any
Yeah,
association with, to compliment
that's
you
it.
and commend you,
That's it.
that's when you know, like, you're on your way, right? And me
It's a
complimenting you
symptom.
yeah, but me complimenting you today on your podcast, like this is someone again that I don't know anything about you guys. I don't really hang out with you guys all the time. So I have no obligation to give you a kind compliment, but yet
No,
I'm
exactly.
giving you one because it's like this is a genuine interpretation. Obviously, you got to keep going, but I look at your content and I'm like, I love it. Like it's refreshing. It's like, you know, I see it growing more and more. Like you guys getting a big studio. I saw behind the scenes footage of
Yeah,
the
we're
one you
improving.
had. It's like no, it's just like crammed up in a room because like that's like the condo
Oh yeah,
space.
yeah,
That's the condo life in
yeah,
the
yeah.
living room.
It is kind of like.
But it's like friends for boys, for guys. It's like that's the come up, right? Like you guys are in your 20s, everyone's trying to make it, everyone's trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's what it is. Like just talking to you makes me understand that I'm not alone. So I love that.
No, man.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
for real.
So man, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast, man.
Yeah, man.
Sharing your
It's really fun.
journey, sharing your story. Yeah,
Yes,
kill your
sir.
podcast. Kill your pride. Kill your podcast. Kill your pride. We gotta be careful in this
That'll be
day and
it.
age because we could kill our fucking podcast. Cancel culture.
Knock on
No,
wood, man.
yeah, no, kill your pride. KYP, motherfuckers. Kill your pride. Amazing. One thing before we go, I want to mention like the whole fashion aesthetic that you kind of display on your Instagram.
Yes.
Is that like, how do you incorporate that into the podcast? Is that an extension of you? Has that always been you? Describe that for me.
Oh, I mean, fuck, that's it's a long story, but it's like I always use it as a form of expression for my love of like architecture and fashion and aesthetics. Um, I was always a kid that was obsessed with being cool or looking cool. I was a shy Asian kid. Um, in a province that's like super French and I didn't belong. So I always felt insecure about who I was. I was a kid, and I always wanted to be that cool kid. Just like I wanted to be respected. So I started Instagram. Buying clothes and looking cool and buying these brands. That's how it started. And that became sort of my identity, my alter ego,
Right.
that confidence that I built myself. But now, how it incorporates with KYP, it's all that experience and that the knowledge that I got from that fashion and like photography and all those kind of things that I was doing. It was through that created my connections today. My environment. So Danny, I met through Instagram, like through a friend, but through Instagram. We knew each other. He was a photographer and a fashion influencer. I was the same. I wasn't a photographer, but I love taking pictures and I love fashion. So that's how we connected. And Kevin, he was always in the background looking at my stuff. And he was probably making fun of it or say it was cringy, but in the back of his head, he was probably like, James is doing his thing, like he's not doing the school route, he's doing something different, that's how I got all these connections, and that's how I connected with you today. It's not, I wouldn't say it's really who I am, but it's part of me. It's something that I always loved, fashion, looking good. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh,
I don't know if
incoming
am I
call.
still on the call?
Yeah, it just flipped. Yeah, you just turned upside down for a second, so your
But
camera
yeah,
got possessed.
that was the family calling. There you go.
Yeah. That's a sign. That's a sign. No, that's your cue. No, I understand that. And honestly,
Yeah.
man, yeah, thanks for being so honest and transparent about that. Because a lot of us, growing up, we always wanted to be the cool kid. We still do in a way, right? We all
Yeah.
want to belong, right? But it's
sure.
amazing that you have the humility to say that. Because looking at your Instagram, talking to you right now, it's like I always thought you were that kind of suave kind of individual. So just goes to show
it's
you can
completely
change.
different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Just goes to show
yeah.
you can really transform your life, man, through dedication. And that's really inspiring. So good for you, man. Really wish you all the best with this
Sir.
podcast. Looking forward to being a guest. Kevin told me that I'd be a guest, so
Yeah, man.
let me know when you want to set that
Come
up.
through.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
So happy to do that. So yeah, everyone check out Kill Your Pride podcast, available on all platforms. And thank you again for listening, and we'll talk soon.